Her code name was simple, unassuming. The Gestapo called her the White Mouse. And they weren't being cute. It was a title born of sheer infuriating respect. She was a ghost, a phantom who slipped through their fingers every single time. They had her photograph. They knew her alias. They put a 5 million franc bounty on her head, but they could not catch her. This is not just a story of a spy. This is the story of a woman who looked into the abyss of the Third Reich and made the abyss blink first. Welcome to Top Tier TV. In the annals of World War II, we often remember the great battles, the famous generals. But the war was also won in the shadows, by ordinary people who chose to do extraordinary things. And few were more extraordinary than Nancy Wake. Born in New Zealand, raised in Australia, she was a headstrong, adventurous young woman who became a journalist. She saw the rise of Nazism firsthand in Vienna, witnessing the brutal treatment of Jewish people. And in that moment, a resolve hardened within her, a hatred for oppression that would define the rest of her life. When the war broke out, she was living in Marseille, married to the love of her life, a wealthy French industrialist named Henri Fiocca. She had a life of luxury, of comfort, of safety, and she gave it all up. She didn't just join the French resistance. She would come to command. In the early days of the occupation, Nancy wasn't a trained killer. She was a courier, a smuggler. Using her charm, her social status, and her sheer audacity, she became a vital link in the embryonic escape line for Allied airmen shot down over France. She would guide them through checkpoints, her bicycle baskets filled with clandestine messages, often hidden in plain sight. She used her femininity as a weapon, a tool the often misogynistic Gestapo consistently underestimated. Her husband, Henri, knew the risks. He adored her, and he funded her early efforts, fully aware that every mission could be her last. The legend of the White Mouse was born here. The Gestapo knew there was a highly effective operative moving through their net, but she was so elusive, so slippery. They gave her the nickname, acknowledging their own frustration, but the net was closing. Her name was appearing on too many documents. The bounty was growing, and her controllers in the British Special Operations Executive, the SOE, knew it was only a matter of time. They gave her a choice, an order, really. Get out. Escape to Britain. Leaving was the most painful decision of her life. It meant leaving Henri behind. His last words to her were, "You must do this. I will see you when the war is over." She made it to Britain, but just barely after multiple arrests and daring escapes. Henri was not so lucky. After she left, the Gestapo captured him. They tortured him for months, trying to find out where she was, what she knew. He never talked. He was executed, a final devastating sacrifice for the cause. In Britain, consumed by a cold, focused rage, Nancy Wake volunteered to go back. The SOE trained her, and she excelled in a way that shocked her instructors. This socialite, this journalist, was a natural. She mastered silent killing, cryptography, demolition, and radio operation. She was as strong as any of the men, able to march for miles with a full pack, outdrink everyone in the room, and still be the first on the firing range at dawn. On the night of April 29th, 1944, she parachuted back into occupied France. Her mission: to arm, train, and lead a 7,000-strong Maquis army in the Auvergne region, and to cripple the German war machine ahead of D-Day. When she first met her Maquis commander, he was unimpressed. They needed weapons, not a woman. Nancy didn't argue. She simply looked at him and said, "You can get rid of me, but you'll have to kill me to do it." The respect was earned not with words, but with actions. She led from the front, always. She personally led a raid on the Gestapo headquarters in Montluçon, gathering vital intelligence. She orchestrated ambushes on German patrols, blowing up bridges, and severing communication lines. Her most famous act of sabotage was a direct, brutal attack on the enemy's wallet. She identified a key factory that produced critical components for the German military. She and her team infiltrated the facility and placed explosives not just on the machinery, but on every single filing cabinet, every ledger, every payroll record. When the bombs went off, they didn't just stop production. They obliterated the entire financial and administrative backbone of the local German command. Chaos. But her most raw display of leadership came during a desperate moment. Their camp was discovered, and the radio, their only lifeline to London for weapons and supply drops, was about to be captured. The radio operator had been killed. The codes, which took hours to transmit, would fall into enemy hands. Nancy didn't hesitate. She ran. She cycled over 500 kilometers in 72 hours, through countless checkpoints and patrols, using her wits and her forged documents to bluff her way through. She contacted another resistance cell, got a message to London, and saved her entire Maquis army. It was a feat of endurance and sheer will that is still almost unbelievable. When the Allies landed and the liberation of France began, Nancy's Maquis army was ready. They were a disciplined, well-armed guerrilla force that pinned down thousands of German troops, destroying infrastructure and communications behind enemy lines. She fought until the very end, even witnessing the execution of a captured German spy, a grim but necessary act of war. When peace finally came, the accolades poured in. She was one of the most decorated servicewomen of the war. The George Medal from Britain, the Medal of Freedom from the US, the Légion d'honneur from France. But the personal cost was immense. Henri was gone. The life she had known was ashes. She never saw herself as a hero. In her own, famously blunt words, "I hate wars and violence. But if they come, I don't see why we should just wave a white flag and give in." Nancy Wake lived a long life, passing away in 2011 at the age of 98. She remained fiercely independent, outspoken, and unapologetic until the very end. A woman who, when asked about her time in the resistance, once said she once had to kill a German sentry with her bare hands. "They'd taught this lovely little trick in England," she said with a dark twinkle in her eye. "It was easy." The story of Nancy Wake is a masterclass in courage. It challenges our very idea of what one person is capable of. She was not a soldier by trade. She was a person who saw injustice and decided she was the one who had to do something about it. She was a leader, a warrior, and a testament to the unyielding power of human spirit. Her legacy isn't just in the bridges she blew up or the armies she commanded. It's in the very idea that one person, regardless of who they are, can change the course of history. So, what do you think? Was Nancy Wake the most formidable spy of World War II? Who else from history would you like us to cover on Top Tier TV? Let us know your thoughts, your theories, in the comments below. We read every single one. If you were as captivated by this story as we are, do us a favor and hit that like button. And subscribe to Top Tier TV for more deep dives into the incredible, often untold stories of history's most fascinating figures. We've got plenty more where this came from. Thank you for watching. Remember her name, Nancy Wake, the White Mouse.